This video corresponds with section 5B.3, and this video will talk you through not only how to find the median of a triangle, but how to find all three medians at once so that you can construct the centroid. This corresponds with page 3 in your note packet as well. In trying to find a median, you must be able to find the midpoint of any given side. So what we will do is we'll find the midpoint of all three sides, AB, BC, and CA. The way that we're going to find that midpoint is we're going to use basically the same steps that you've learned to find a perpendicular bisector. As you may recall, perpendicular bisector, one of the key things about it is that it splits the side in half. A median does the same thing. The only difference is that it doesn't form a right angle with the side. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to use most of the steps from the perpendicular bisector that you've learned how to do in order to go find a median. So put your compass, we're going to start with side AB. Put your compass point on the vertex of A. Make sure your compass is at least halfway across A and B, just like we did with perpendicular bisectors. We're going to go ahead and make an arc through the side. And then you're going to do the same thing, keeping your compass width the same, but from the opposite point. Do it from B. So we're going to go ahead and make an arc. Now, when we did perpendicular bisector, we drew a line straight through, and that served as for that purpose to make the bisector. We're not going to quite do that in this case. We're still going to line up the straight edge through those 2 points. But instead of drawing a line the whole way through it, since we're trying to find a median, if I draw that straight line, while that can still help us find the median, it isn't the median itself, and it's just going to add more lines to your diagram, and it's going to probably make it more of a confusing mess. The only thing we care about is the midpoint. So we just care about this middle point in between A and B. Go ahead and mark it by lining up that straight edge. All you need to do is denote that point. Because what you're going to do is a median, remember, just splits the side in half. But the other key thing about it is that it has to start from an angle. You're going to connect that midpoint to the angle on the opposite that side. So in this case, now we're going to take our straight edge and line up the vertex of angle C and that midpoint. So again, you want to be as accurate as you can. And that is going to serve as your median. Now, since we are doing this within a triangle, we're going to go find all three medians at the same time. So it's, again, using those same steps as perpendicular bisector, but rather than drawing a straight line through the intersecting arcs, you're using that as a guide to figure out, okay, if I were to draw a line, where does it cross the side I'm dealing with? We're plotting that point, and we're going ahead and connecting it back to the opposing angle. Now, we're going to do this in all three with the other two, the other two sides as well, because same as like with the other major constructions, if we do that correctly, we're going to end up with three medians that will cross at the same point. That forms our centroid. You learned this back in Unit 5A, where we did this on a graph. Now we're just simply taking the graph out of it and the coordinate plane and all those ordered pairs, and now we're just using our compass and our straight edge to go find it ourselves. Centroid always has to be inside the triangle as well, so whenever you get these three lines that cross, these three medians, it'll always be inside the triangle if you do it correctly. So let's go ahead and find our other two median points. So let's go ahead and do it from CB. So do the same thing. Let's put our compass at C. Get an arc, go over to B, and do the exact same thing. Now you notice in this case, I happen to get the arcs to almost line up on top of each other. Again, that can happen, and that's okay. We're going to go ahead, use our straight edge. Again, line it up, but again, we're not drawing a straight line through it. All we're doing is simply denoting, okay, if I were to draw a line, where's the midpoint going to be? It's going to be right there. So we're going to go ahead and bold that out. We're going to connect that to our opposing angle, in this case, angle A. So we line it up. And there's our second median. So you can see where they cross. If this is done correctly, when we do our final side, AC, and get that final midpoint, it should connect with angle B, should cross right through that point. So let's see if we do this correctly. So go ahead, put your compass at A. Arc number 1, And go ahead to C and do the same thing, get arc number 2. Line up with your straight edge. Again, keep in mind, since now you have multiple lines, make sure, again, you're marking and using the correct 2 arcs that intersected, so you can see where I've done that here. Mark that midpoint. And then go ahead and connect it with your opposing angle. And again, that's angle B. Again, line it up the best that you can. And that's how you find your centroid. Now, again, you'll notice a little bit of human error with it. You can see maybe the lines are slightly off by a hair. Again, depending on how big you make those points, how you line up your rulers, again, any small amount of nominal amount of error that you have can affect where the lines cross. But again, your markings are in the right spot. Go ahead. Your centroid's going to be right around here. And if you feel like labeling it, you can do so. So that explains how to not only find a single median of a triangle, but it will also explain how you find the centroid by connecting all 3 medians within the triangle itself.